Hey homies, it's Coopagen, and I want to point out to you guys before I get started on this book, have any of you noticed that not all these videos take place in the same inn? A few of them do, but some of them take place in inns that, though looking the same, aren't the same location. See if in the comments you can point out which inn I'm in, and if I see the correct one, I'll let you guys know if you got it right. Without further ado though, in this timeline series, it says Before the Ages of Man by A Cantor of Cimmerian. Though it does say it's volume 1, I don't know of a volume 2. If you guys do, let me know, but I'm not aware of one. So as far as I know, this may be the only book, but we're going to go through it. Before man came to rule Tamriel, and before the chronicles of the historians recorded the affairs of the rulers of Tamriel, the events of our world are known only through myths and legends and through the divinely inspired teachings of the 9 divines. For convenience, historians divide the distant ages of prehistory into 2 broad periods of time, the Dawn Era and the Merithic Era. The Dawn Era. The Dawn Era is that period before the beginning of mortal time when the feats of the gods take place. The Dawn Era ends with the exodus of the gods and magic from the world at the founding of the Adamantine Tower. The term Merithic comes from the Nordic, literally, Era of the Elves. The Merithic Era is the prehistoric time after the exodus of the gods and magic from the world at the founding of the Adamantine Tower and before the arrival of Ysgramor, the Nord in Tamriel. The following are the most notable events of the Dawn Era, presented roughly in sequence as it must be understood by creatures of time such as ourselves. Now I'm going to say understood because that word doesn't exist as far as I know. I think it's a typo, something that's been left for decades at this point, I believe, at least a decade or more. The cosmos formed from the Orbis, chaos or totality, by Anu and Padme. Akatosh or Ariel formed when time began. The gods Eta or Eta formed. Lorcan convinced or tricked the gods into creating the mortal plane, Nirn. The mortal plane was at this point highly magical and dangerous. As the gods walked, the physical makeup of the mortal plane and even the timeless continuity of existence itself became unstable. When Magic, or Magnus, architect of the plans for the mortal world, decided to terminate the project, the gods convened at the Adamantine Tower, the Rini Tower, the oldest known structure in Tamriel, and decided what to do. Most left when Magic did. Others sacrificed themselves into other forms so that they might stay, the Elnofe. Lorcan was condemned by the gods to exile in the mortal realms, and his heart was torn out and cast from the tower. Where it landed, a volcano formed. With magic, in the mythic sense, gone, cosmos stabilized. Elven history, finally linear, began. Merithic Era, year 2500. The Merithic Era. The Merithic Era was figured by early Nord scholars as a series of years numbered in reverse order backward from their beginning of time. Founding of the Cameron dynasty, recorded as year 0 in the First Era, the prehistoric events of the Merithic Era are listed here with their traditional Nordic Merithic dates. The earliest Merithic date cited by King Harold scholars was Merithic Era, year 2500, the Nordic reckoning of the first year of time. As such, the Merithic Era extends from the Merithic Era 2500 in the distant past to Merithic Era Year 1, the year before the founding of the Cameron dynasty and the establishment of the White Gold Tower as an independent city-state. According to King Harold's bards, Merithic Era 2500 was the date of construction of the Adamantine Tower on Balfiera Island in High Rock, the oldest known structure of Tamriel. This corresponds roughly to the earliest historical dates given in various unpublished Elvish chronicles. During the early Merithic Era, the aboriginal beast peoples of Tamriel, the ancestors of the Khajiit, Argonian, Orcish, and other beast folk, lived in preliterate communities throughout Tamriel. In the middle Merithic Era, the Aldmiri, or mortals of elven origin, refugees left their doomed and now lost continent of Aldmiris, also known as Old Elfnofe, and settled in southwestern Tamriel. The first colonies were distributed at wide intervals on islands along the entire coast of Tamriel. Later inland settlements were founded primarily in fertile lowlands in southwest and central Tamriel. Wherever the beast folk encountered the elves, sophisticated, literate, technologically advanced Aldmiri cultures displaced the primitive beast folk into the jungles, marshes, mountains, and wastelands. The Adamantine Tower was rediscovered and captured by the Durini, a prominent and powerful Aldmiri clan. The Crystal Tower was built on Somerset Isle and later White Gold Tower in Cyrodiil. During the Middle Merithic era, Aldmiri explorers mapped the coast of Vardenfell, building the first era High Elven wizard towers at Ald Redania, Balfell, Talaroon, and Tel Mora in Morrowind. It was also during this period that Ayleid or Wild Elven settlements flourished in the jungles surrounding White Gold Tower, present-day Cyrodiil. Wild Elves, also known as the Heartland High Elves, preserved the Dawn-era magics and language of the Elnofey, ostensibly a tribute land to the High King of Aelinor. The Heartland's long lines of communication from the Somerset Isles sovereignty effectively isolated Cyrodiil from the High Kings at Crystal Tower. The late Middle Merithic era is the period of the High Velothi culture. The Chimer, ancestors of modern Dunmer, or Dark Elves, were dynamic, ambitious, long-lived elven clans devoted to fundamentalist ancestor worship. The Chimer clans followed the prophet Veloth out of the ancestral elven homelands in the southwest to settle in the lands now known as Morrowind. Despising the secular culture and profane practices of the Dwemer, the Chimer also coveted the lands and resources of the Dwemer and for centuries provoked them with minor raids and territorial disputes. The Dwemer, or dwarves, free-thinking, reclusive elven clans devoted to the secrets of science, engineering, and alchemy, established underground cities and communities in the mountain range, later the Velothi Mountains, separating modern Skyrim and Morrowind. The late Merithic era marks the precipitous decline of Velothi culture. Some Velothi settled in villages near declining and abandoned ancient Velothi towers. During this period, Velothi high culture disappeared on Vardenfell Island. The earliest Dwemer freehold colonies date from this period. Degenerate Velothi devolved into tribal cultures which, in time, evolved into the modern great houses of Morrowind, or persisted as the barbarian Ashlander tribes. The only surviving traces of this tribal culture are scattered Velothi towers and Ashlander nomads on Vardenfell Island. The original First Era High Elven wizard towers along the coast of Tamriel were also abandoned about this time. It was in the late Merithic era that the pre-literate humans, the so-called Nedic peoples from the continent of Atmora, also Altmora, or the Elderwood in Aldmeris, migrated and settled in northern Tamriel. The Nord culture hero Ysgramor, leader of a great colonizing fleet to Tamriel, is credited with developing a runic transcription of Nord speech based on Elvish principles, and so Ysgramor is considered the first human historian. Ysgramor's fleet landed at Sarek Head at the extreme northern tip of Skyrim's Broken Cape. The Nords built there the legendary city of Sarthal. The elves drove the men away during the Night of Tears, but Ysgramor soon returned with his 500 companions. Also during the late Merithic era, the legendary immortal hero, warrior, sorcerer, and king variously known as Pelinal Whitestake, Harold Harry Breeks, Ysmir, Hans the Fox, etc., wandered Tamriel, gathering armies, conquering lands, ruling, then abandoning his kingdoms to wander again. I love the amount of lore that this has gone over. It's a huge gap, so it starts with the gods coming in and creating it. And one of the gods, as I'm seeing, is named Magic, decides to abandon the world. He's like, oh no, this project isn't working out. I'm dipping. A lot of the other gods are like, yeah, me too. I'm not sticking around. A few others decided I'm going to change into something else so that I can stay here, which I guess leads to the elven people, who eventually start getting attacked by Ysgramor as they start to force them away from places, and that becomes a back and forth. I mean, it turns into a whole big war. There's probably other books that touch on that, but this game touches on it for sure, and we can dig into that if you guys would like me to. But let me know. I'd appreciate it. If you guys want to, leave me some comments on what I can do better for you guys. If you like this stuff, make sure you get that subscribe in so that you can be notified for more. And again, if you leave a like on these videos, it helps me with that algorithm. So I appreciate you guys regardless. If you guys like this, I hope you come back for more. And I thank you guys for being here. Have a good time now. Bye-bye.